I'm Dennis Anderson along with Julie Zenner, and here's what's coming up on Almanac North.
For 24 hours this week, Duluth was the center of the political world as President Donald Trump came to town.
We have coverage from his arrival, his roundtable discussion on mining, and the political rally he held during his whirlwind stop.
And later in the show, an update on severe flooding impacting a large portion of northern Wisconsin.
These stories and the business news coming up now on Almanac North. Hello again and welcome to Almanac North. Thank you very much for watching. We have a lot to cover this evening, Julie, so we might as well get started right away.
All right, it is a busy week, Denny, as Air Force One taxied to a stop outside the Duluth Air Guard Base Wednesday. The nation's media converged on Duluth, temporarily making it the epicenter of the political world. The president came to town for a political rally, but also held an official White House roundtable while he was in town. Tonight we have extended coverage of the president's visit, beginning with excerpts from the rally at Amsoil Arena.
My friends, we are the last Midwestern state still dominated by Democrats.
I hate to bring this up, but we came this close to winning the state of Minnesota. And in 2.5 years, it's going to be really easy, I think. We're honored to be joined tonight by many wonderful Republican leaders. Finally, the person we're all here to support tonight, the next congressman from Minnesota's 8th Congressional District, the great Pete Stauber. Come on up.
Mr. President, before your election, you made a promise to visit Minnesota, and you promised more jobs, fewer regulations, and a better economy for everyone. Optimism is at an all-time high.
So I didn't know he was going to do that. And then he takes out a speech and reads it. I said, that's pretty good. We're fighting to protect American iron, aluminum, and steel, and to protect our incredible and very brave miners. Today, I signed an executive order. We're going to keep families together, but the border is going to be just as tough as it's been. Illegal immigration costs our country hundreds of billions of dollars. So imagine if we could spend that money to help bring opportunity to our inner cities and our rural communities and our roads and our highways and our schools. And we do want people coming across our border, going through our ports of entry. We have so many companies moving back into our country. We need people to help, but we want them to come in through the merit system. The media doesn't talk about the American families permanently separated from their loved ones because Democrat policies release violent criminals into our communities. We're building it. We're building the wall. That wall is happening. Did you see the thousands and thousands of people outside that will never be reported by the fake news, but the thousands of people that couldn't get in? Many thousands. They're all over. The parking lots, they're all over. So we have a single protester. He's going home to his mom. The fake news will say tomorrow, massive protests at the Trump rally. One person. Massive protests. Ay, ay, ay. Under the previous administration, America's rich natural resources, of which your state has a lot, were put under lock and key, including thousands of acres in Superior, National Forest. You know what that is, right? Tonight, I'm proudly announcing that we will soon be taking the first steps to rescind the federal withdrawal in Superior National Forest and restore mineral exploration, and we'll do it carefully. And maybe, if it doesn't pass muster, we won't do it at all, but it is going to happen, I will tell you. It's going to happen, and it's happening fast. And it's going to make things better. It's going to make it, from an environmental standpoint, better. For the first time in 20 years, wages are rising. By the way, is there anything more fun than a Trump rally? Is there, seriously? Together, we're renewing the miracle of the great American Midwest. And we will make America great again. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Minnesota. Thank you, Minnesota.
Well, the president's visit drew strong reactions from engaged citizens across the political spectrum. Karen Sunderman brings us now a sampling of activities outside of the rally.
This is what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like.
The entry to the convention center parking lot was awash with people and opinions. Vendors outside the Trump rally conducted business, while voters exchanged viewpoints.
Build the wall. Build the wall.
All came armed with curiosity and the courage of their convictions.
I am very proud to be able to walk with all the people in solidarity in Duluth. People I've never seen protest before, and young and old, and people who love this city, love this country, and feeling like it's completely going in the complete wrong direction.
We marched from the Civic Center and we went down 6th Avenue West and around to the deck. It's kind of scary going past some of the Trump supporters, but we knew what we were there for.
Can I get some love for Trump?
Well, we just saw that Trump was coming to Duluth, and we decided we're coming.
We're coming. We want to support
Yep.
mining up north.
Yep.
And he's our president of the United States, and we wanted to see him.
Yep.
Yep.
I mean,
That's
who would want to see the standing president of the United States? I mean, that's
Yes.
pretty awesome.
I've been into politics for probably 2 years now, ever since Trump announced he was running. I've watched all the debates when he was running, and I stay up to date on all the news. So that's what brought me out. I like politics.
What was it like to be in the rally?
It was really thrilling. There's so much energy in there. He brings so much energy to the crowd, and he knows how to get people pumped up.
It was emotional. Right when he came on, I silenced just to try to listen better. The only sadness that I felt, honestly, was when people were booing ex-presidents, because they are part of our American history, and we need to be proud that we're still standing as a nation. You know, and I love what he did for Israel. Thank you, Trump.
And I am here with you tonight to take on the big fight that we have in front of us.
The DFL party staged a counter rally at Lake Place Park to energize their supporters. The event drew people who oppose the current administration on a wide range of issues, from immigration to human rights.
His whole platform is against my values. The hate he creates with religious, with the gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, women, just there isn't one thing presidential about him.
I'm here today because our children are important, and I don't agree with Trump's policies on what's going on at the border, and I'm here to support everybody because everybody matters, not just the people who support Trump.
I initially was coming out to address water issues. The steel up in the taconite. I was worried about the pollution in the waters. And then a couple of days ago, mostly yesterday, when the children were being ripped away from their parents down at the border, I rethought about what I'm coming here for.
You know, I came here to be part of a community that believes and wants to fight for justice and equality. And for those people who have a deep desire to keep community as an us and a we thing, not just an I thing, not for Wall Street, not for Main Street, not for Pennsylvania Avenue, but for Superior Street.
Well, joining us now to talk about how the president's visit might impact the fall election in our region is Cynthia Rugeley, a political science professor at UMD and a former reporter who has covered presidential campaigns. And Alisa von Hagel is a professor of American government at UW Superior who teaches a class in campaigns and elections. And looked like you two had a busy night weighing in on what was happening this week.
Indeed.
Cynthia, how important is a presidential visit for candidates?
It's very important. I mean, it's an interesting election in that if you recall in 2016, a lot of Republican candidates were running away from the president. And the fact in this election that they're not, and in fact, inviting him and welcoming him and standing up with him at rallies. It's important because, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, he starts out with 9,000 people at a rally, Stauber does, and that does help. I mean, it lends a support, and it mobilizes the president's base behind the candidate, Pete Stauber and others that were there that night.
Mm-hmm.
Alisa, it sounds like you teach in part of your classes something on campaigning, how candidates campaign. Is Trump a good campaigner?
Oh, wow. I wasn't prepared for that one. He's been successful, clearly. He's definitely doesn't go by the book in terms of sort of, what is expected of candidates in terms of, endorsements and speeches and that sort of thing. And but it's worked thus far.
It's working for him?
It's worked for, once, and so whether or not, again, it will affect, future elections, that there will be a Republican tide in Minnesota or elsewhere in 2018 is, obviously is yet to be determined, and so it's hard to say if his, style of, social media campaigning and really going outside the rule book of what we know.
He's rewriting the book.
He has a whole different book that he's working from, and it worked for him thus far. And whether it works in office, all the time is, that doesn't necessarily translate quite so well. But it's again, I think 2018 will be a very interesting election to see how that translates for other candidates and him, and if he runs again in 2020.
Mm-hmm. What does the president's visit to Duluth say about our region's importance as we're heading into the midterm? Either one of you.
I think what you're seeing in this election is that it looks like it could be a Democratic election year. Most of the time a midterm election it is the party that's out of power. Minnesota has a bunch of open seats. We have the 1st and the 8th are open seats. There's no incumbent running. It is a seat that the Republicans can win. I mean, it's an interesting district in that the demographics do favor Republicans. It's an older electorate. It's largely rural. Those are people that generally vote Republican. So again, I think it is a Republican district. And the thing is, there's just not as many votes. Duluth is strongly Democrat, but the question is there enough of Democratic votes in Duluth to...
And 2 U.S. senators and the governor, now Democrats, are up for re-election. Could this transfer into maybe Republican wins in these offices?
I gave up predicting elections after the last one, but I think Minnesota has always been progressive in terms of its values, and so whether or not that translates into Republicans who support Trump's. To me that doesn't seem to translate really quite in the Minnesota political culture that has been in place and is in place still today. And
things like his trade policies work really well in this district. His tariffs, they don't work so well in other parts of the state. I mean, when you get into trade wars and tariffs, there's winners and there's losers. Winners obviously are mining in this area of the state. Losers, agriculture.
Right. Now you teach over in Wisconsin. Is there a spillover effect with a president coming to a border community like this?
Right. Well, you saw Sean Duffy Congressman Sean Duffy was there, and he's up for re-election as he is every term, and this will be his 4th election, I believe, in office. And he hasn't had too much of a strong opposition against him. He's won pretty handily in the previous elections against him. So, I mean, anything is a help, certainly is a boost for him, but I don't think there's necessarily too much of a worry on his end with respect to the re-election coming up in 2018. But any publicity is good publicity.
All right, Alisa and Cynthia, thank you so much for coming in and sharing your insights. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now, just before the big political rally, the president held an official White House event in a warehouse at the Duluth Port Terminal. The Protecting American Workers Roundtable featured participants from the steel industry, Iron Range mayors, county officials, and high-level members of the federal government. Protecting and promoting iron mining was at the heart of that discussion.
I think it kind of excites everybody here that we are not a forgotten corner of the country. By him taking a time out from his busy schedule, that he is concerned, he has ears up here, and he's willing to do what he can to strengthen our economy.
At the heart of our America First agenda are the tax cuts and the reduction in regulations. I think the reduction in regulations are as big a factor in the country's success as anything that we've done, including the tax cuts. We've cut more regulations, and we have regulations. You need regulation. We want the cleanest air that you can have, and we have that. We want crystal clean water, so important. But it was crazy what was happening. You couldn't do anything. You know about it from the mining industries and all of the different work that you've had stopped and that now is going forward. So much work is going forward in Minnesota and in so many other states.
It's a matter of defense, it's a matter of environmental safety, it's a matter of putting people back to work and keep them working. We have some of the richest deposits in the area, and we have also some of the strictest safety standards in the area, in the state. So, we don't want to have bad water. We don't want to have anything horrible happen.
Mr. President, at the end of last year, you issued an executive order developing a strategy for critical minerals.
Right.
And you recognize that the United States, despite its vast natural resource wealth, was very dependent on foreign sources for critical minerals. And your direction to us at Interior was to do additional mapping and look at streamlining our permitting processes and creating greater access of federal lands. And we have been rigorous and relentless in doing that and driving that forward. And we believe that you may have inherited a mess, but this is an area where we really, truly can fix America.
Somebody said coming over that the previous administration took away your way of life. And I said, wow, that's such an incredible statement. That's such a tough statement. But there's a lot of truth to it. In a certain way, your way of life was taken away and livelihoods were taken away for no reason. And if you do what you want to do, it'll be better and the land will be better. So we're going to be, I think we're going to be closer than anyone understands or thinks. We've done it with so many other elements of what we've touched with the administration, so I think we're going to be able to pull that off, and we're working very hard on it.
I think it reinforces his commitment to the steel industry with the tariffs and trade deals. I think it's going to give us a chance to be proactive and get some economic stability. And he seems to be a man of his word. And when he was running for election, he didn't stutter when he said he supported mining.
I can't thank you enough for the Section 232 and the steel tariffs. We have definitely seen an increase in our overall productivity, and we've had a lot of employees called back, not only in our iron mines, but also in our steel making facilities, and that has really been a real benefit to this area. We thank you very much for taking that very seriously and raising that issue both here in the United States, but internationally as well. The quotas were a good answer, but I think that this is a very solid answer, and we're very, very appreciative of that.
Well, I don't like the quotas as much as the tariffs. I never have, because the quotas mean you might run out of material. I never want to run out of material.
I think it's a game changer. I think people are going to have to step up their game and say what they're fighting for and prove that they're fighting for it. People are watching, and they want to know that they have jobs. We don't want to lose our children to other areas, especially when they want to stay in the area.
Other stories making news, certainly northwestern Wisconsin beginning to dry out now after storms last weekend dumped more than a foot of rain in some parts of the region. Well, that rain caused high water that knocked out bridges, flooded lakes and rivers, and caused millions of dollars in damages. Well, as the water began to recede late this week, hidden damage beneath the flooding is becoming evident. Here with the latest on flood damage is Mark Liebaert, the chair of the Douglas County Board of Supervisors. Mark, welcome. Thanks for being here tonight.
Thanks for having us here, Dan.
Mark, are some roads still flooded out?
Yeah, we still have some, well, not maybe flooded out so much as they're damaged beyond repair, at least at this time.
It's going to be a while before.
It's going to be a while. It's going to be a while. The governor has promised them that the state roads will be a priority. There'll be emergency contracts put out on them, and they'll try to open those roads as quickly as they can.
So does that mean, are some people still stranded or not any longer?
I believe we have everybody opened up as far as to get out anyway. They might have a long way to get to work, but they can at least get out.
Talk about some of the areas that were the hardest hit and the type of damage that you're seeing.
Well, southwestern part of Douglas County got hit the hardest. Summit and Dairyland got hit the hardest. I think Dairyland alone has, early reports are well over $1 million in damage just in that township. And townships, of course, have a limited budget. It's going to be really tough if we don't meet the qualifications for federal aid.
How did this compare with the flood of 2012?
Depending on where you were in the county, this is worse. Maybe even many times worse in some areas than it was in 2012. 2012 seemed to hit the northern part of Douglas County. This one seemed to be the central, to work our way towards the north.
You got an awful lot of rain. How many inches?
We got 6 at my house. I live in the Amnicon, about 3 miles from the Amnicon Park, but 12 inches fell in the areas that were in the rivers that flooded towards us. So, and that's where the main problems came, is that heavy flooding hit those areas, and as it moved north, the rivers were already swollen from the 6 inches we had, and they just really overflowed.
Are you finding as the waters recede that there's more damage than you had first expected?
Yeah, when you have the town bridges in my town alone, there were 6 bridges submerged, and they were submerged I think for 3 days. And the river moved a lot of that road out of the way, so now we have bridges basically standing unsupported on either side, and when the water finally goes down enough, they're going to have to be assessed to see if they are damaged. And then the dollar amount could drastically move up. We figure there's almost $5 million damage in Douglas County. It would just take one bridge to move it up another $500,000. So we had 6 in our township. There was dozens of bridges, dozens.
Douglas County, of course, wasn't the only place hit.
Right.
Are you coordinating with other counties such as Bayfield? They had some severe damage by Drummond.
The last I heard is we've probably got the highest dollar damage. And you hate to say this, we're hoping that between the combination of the 3 or 4 counties, 5 counties I guess that actually had damage, that we'll meet that mark that the Fed have to have us for FEMA damage. So we're hoping it's a bad thing to say, but we're hoping that their damage will help raise it up enough that we'll get us.
The governor came up and took a look at the damage. He couldn't promise federal help, could he?
He can't. There's about $1 million of state money available for something like this, but even the federal aid doesn't include county highways and the state highways. There is another fund that we're going to try to use for that.
So does the county board make application?
I declared a state emergency, and then last night it was reaffirmed by the county board a state emergency, and then the state declares it on our emergency, and so in conjunction, I guess we're all calling it an emergency.
What about detours? Anything that people should be aware of if they're traveling through?
Well, it's a tough route to get to Ashland because there's a big detour in the middle of Highway 2. You got to go around. Highway 35 is closed in 2 sections in Douglas County. Basically, go to the Douglas County website and you can see current closures of roads, and as those roads are being opened up, we're pretty good about reopening them on that map.
I understand that the Nemadji River reached a record high. Is there any long-lasting damage there that maybe can't be repaired, that things are wiped out?
I think, well, we can always repair. It's whether or not you can afford to repair them, I mean, there actually may be some roads that will probably be closed. I mean, if we, like I said, I go to Amnicon because I'm also on the town Amnicon board. There are, like I say, 6 bridges that are damaged. If one of them approaches a replacement, we'd probably have to assess whether we could even afford to replace it or just close the road.
Okay, sure. All right, Mark, thank you very much. Appreciate you being here today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
time now for the business headlines from the editors at Business North. The U.S. Senate on Monday approved legislation for a land exchange between the Forest Service and Polymet Mining. Company executives said the legislation marks another major milestone in Polymet's development of Minnesota's first copper-nickel precious metals mine, which will be located near Hoyt Lakes. Last November, the House of Representatives passed the land exchange bill on a 309 to 99 vote. Congressional approval would prevent opponents from challenging the matter in court.
Adams Publishing Group announced Monday it has purchased Suncoast Media Group based in Venice, Florida. Adams owns newspaper chains on the Iron Range and throughout northwestern Wisconsin. Founded in 2013, the company is led by Mark Adams, grandson of Minneapolis Star-Tribune columnist and radio host the late Cedric Adams. Other Adams family enterprises include Outdoor Billboards, Radio, Good Sam, Camping World, and Gander Outdoors. The company now owns more than 127 newspapers in 15 states and the District of Columbia.
Major improvements are being made to the Cenex Harvest States grain elevator facility in Superior, where 35 to 40 ships are loaded every year. The Wisconsin Harbor Assistance Program has awarded a $1.7 million grant for the project. 600 feet of the Harvest States dock is being rehabilitated. The investment will ensure the grain elevators remain active long into the future, according to Superior Mayor Jim Payne. This is the third phase of dock work at the 82-year-old facility. For more on these and other stories, visit businessnorth.com.
Well, if you have something to say about the show, call now. Dial 218-788-2849 to leave a message, or send us an email to almanacnorth@wdsc.org. And you can visit the WDSC website for updates on our program schedule, news about your favorite PBS shows, and upcoming events here at the station. Well, Julie, the first weekend of summer, any plans to go out and celebrate these lazy, hazy days?
I think it's going to be lots of fishing, lots of kayaking.
And I'm going to relax. For Julie and the crew, I'm Dennis Anderson. Have a great weekend. Good night, everybody, and be kind.